I'm going to start welding up the frame here, or at least tacking it together, getting it all three-dimensional. I got my 3 sections here for my left side, and I got my 3 sections here for my right side, and then I'll basically just put them together once I finish tacking them together. But anyways, I got some etch lines right here that I got to line up for each section. Same thing goes for the back here. Got etch lines that I'll all have to get lined up, and I'll tack the plate together. So I got my 2 individual half sections all tacked together, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tack the whole frame as a whole unit. So basically, it's just like building a ship, really. It's just all a series of overlapping plates, which you can kind of see there. And it kind of puzzle pieces together, so this piece is actually on the bottom of this piece, which you can kind of see right there. There's like a little place the plate kind of slips into one another right there. But overall, everything turned out pretty square. What I'm going to do now is I have to set my width, which once again depends on what axle you're running. And since I'm running a 58.5 inch axle gauge, which is center to center of the track, and since I'm going to be running 1.5 inch clearance between the track and the outside of the hole, and I have a 20-inch track, I have to subtract 23 inches from 58.5, which gives me a total outer width of the bottom tub of 35.5 inches. So what I did, I pretty much set my 35.5 on my front, and I'll tack it here on the front, and then I'll go back and I'll set that distance, because then I can use the tack weld as a fulcrum point, so nothing moves on this side of things. But yep, I got my cross tubes in here too. That all turned out pretty square. I pretty much triangulate everything, and I'll have enough slop to get everything square on this regard, in that regard, so everything's going pretty good. So I'll tack these 2 halves together and we'll get ourselves a hole. And one note too is I'm always measuring from the bottom for my total outer width, because right now this thing's kind of tweaking under its own weight. It's kind of bending under its own weight, but we'll worry about that width later on. Nothing a little bit of ratchet straps and chain binders can't handle. So I got my ratchet straps here to kind of pull the tub together. Basically now on my uppers, I'm now 35.5 on the front and 35.5 on the rear. And I also ran a string line from corner to corner to check my squareness. I am 3/16 of an inch off, but I mean, for the size of it, that's going to be good enough for me anyways. If something really does major come up, we can always tweak it later. But so right now what I'm going to do is I got some 1-inch tube steel here. I'm going to run 5 of them as tack bars, and I'm going to tack them together, and just to hold the frame as I kind of manipulate it as I do fully weld operations, and then probably going to have to flip it over somehow too using the hoist. So yep, now I'll go ahead and do that. So I got all my tack bars on. Got rid of the ratchet straps, everything held together pretty good. There's a little bit of wobble to her, but once I start boxing everything up, hopefully it'll get a little more rigid. But yeah, then I'll have to go ahead and get my cross tubes all mounted up and centered up on the chassis and go from there. So because I got this overlap right here, I got these shim plates that pretty much bridge the gap on this tube here. So I'm going to cut that down to length. I'll just mark it, cut it down, and then what I'll do is I'll find the center of this tube here and I'll weld the tubes all ready to go. So tack bars are in. I pretty much got all the major components of the lower tub all tacked together. I got one of the rear cross members fully welded on the inside. Basically, when I mean fully welded, I did a intermittent stitch, so opposite stitches, as you can see here, just to save welding wire and time, because you really don't need to fully weld it on the inside, because what really matters is holding the water out from the outside where you'll do your full weld, so save material and time in that regard. Rear plates have been tacked on. I don't know if you can see it, but I got quite the gap right here. I'll just have to fill that in, I guess, as I go. And I kind of got the rear idler slider tubes mocked up. Those will be tacked on. But other than that, it's a pretty big machine, in all honesty. Still a little wobbly right now. It's not fully boxed together. But what I noticed is that once you box those ends up, it really is pretty rigid. So hopefully that'll be the same once I put the front plates on. But before I put the front plates on, I gotta put the differential in. So, but that'll come probably in another couple weeks. So, but everything's going together pretty well. It's gonna be the closest thing I've ever built to a tank, which is gonna be awesome. It's kind of a 2-for-1 deal. I get to build a tank, and then I also get to build an amphibious tracked vehicle. So it'll be nice.